welcome to another episode of the Creator Den podcast powered by the Partnership Expert. In today's episode, we have an incredible creator joining us as a guest. Before I introduce her, I want to give a little bit of a background as to why I approached this guest to come on board. This creator, I think, has done an exceptional job at building an online business that is truly founded in community and an audience need. She has multiple streams to her business, from brand partnerships to digital products and a membership, but at the core of everything she does, as I've just mentioned, it is founded in some sort of need from her audience and community, and that drives what she creates. So before we bring her on board, quick introduction. Kristen Bousquet is a Charlotte-based content creator, creator coach, and CEO and founder of Your Soulcialmate. She started her company at the age of 25 after selling her first business for $100,000. Soulcialmate's goal is to educate entrepreneurial creators on how to turn their online influence into a profitable, self-sustaining business. Kristen wants every creator that she works with to learn how to be successful as a digital biz owner while keeping the soul in social media. On this podcast, we share strategies and tactics to help you earn a sustainable living as a creator. We dive into everything from affiliate marketing to digital products, brand partnerships, and more, all with the goal of helping you feel inspired to grow a business as a creator. As well as solo episodes, we sit down with guests to share the highs and lows of how they have built a business and essentially found success as a creator in the online digital world. My name is Sean Scott, and I am the founder of the Partnership Expert. We are a boutique agency that helps creators of all sizes to earn a living through brand partnerships. I cannot wait to share what we are going to share with you today. So first of all, Kristen, thank you for being here. And how are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super pumped because I feel like we have so many similar crossovers. So I'm excited to chat with you today. I'm doing well. My day is absolutely flying by today.
Nice. Good to hear it. I think that's a good thing. And anyone listening, Chris and I have known each other, I think 2 or 3 years. We actually worked together when I was in a brand. So that was kind of the start of how we connected. And since then, just been Instagram buddies, stayed connected on Instagram. I just have such a unique perspective. So I can't wait to share it. So why don't we start with taking it back a few years? Where did everything begin for you? Like, what brought you into this online creator space?
I think I kind of fell into it a little bit, but I'll give you the quick version. In 2008, actually, I started a fashion blog on blogger.com when there was only a handful of bloggers. I was literally in middle school. My mom was taking photos of me in my backyard in these horribly cringy outfits, and I've kind of just been riding the wave ever since. Never thinking this was going to be a job, it was always for me just, this is so fun. I just like dressing up. It's cool to meet people who also like dressing up. And I was mainly covering fashion, just sharing my daily outfits until 2018 or so, when I started to realize there was this opportunity to monetize. I had brands being like, oh, we'll send you free clothes or we'll give you $50. And I was like, really? Why? Okay, cool. And so eventually kind of just ended up starting to monetize more and more. And in 2020 is when I realized that I was getting so many questions from other people as the creator economy is starting to ramp up. Just people who are like, how are you doing this? What are you doing? How do you know what to charge? How are you talking to brands? And I started doing a little bit of coaching, and it has eventually just evolved into what it is today, where I started a company called Soulcialmate. We teach creators how to monetize their online influence, but in a way that is very sustainable for them. I love hanging out with my dogs on my couch just as much as I love being an entrepreneur. So I want the people that I teach to have a really good balance and make sure that they're doing something that actually makes them really excited.
I love it. It's so cool to hear like where it started, 2008,
Crazy.
blogger.com. But yeah, I mean, this is a shared thing that I think everyone I talk to has in common, is this idea of like, it's something you're passionate about and something that you're driven by. And that's why
Yeah.
you create what you create, as opposed to, I just need to make money and I'm going to pick something to make money. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is actually something I believe in, and you believe in this community that you've built, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the people that get into it because they're like, ooh, I can make a quick buck are the ones that actually end up making the money at the end of the day, you know?
Yes, I totally agree. So you kind of touched on it a little bit there in terms of where it is today. And I know I spoke about it a bit in the intro, but yeah, I wondered if you would be able to just give everyone listening like an overview of what does your business look like today on this Thursday, March the 7th that we're recording this.
It's evolved so much. It started off with me literally like getting on one-on-one calls, and I would teach people the topic on the call because I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, yeah, people want the information. Like, let's get on a call and I'll tell it to you. And the issue that I found was that people had questions, but we didn't like have any time to really like coach through it. So I was more just like spitting out information. And so I started to do things that were more in like a course format where I had the course, but then we would get on the call so we could talk about what they learned in the course. I mean, that worked for a really long time. And we still have a course to this day that I love. But what I realized, especially since 2020, like obviously COVID happened, we were all stuck at home, hardly any human connection. I think now more than ever, we really crave that connection and like support from other people. So we in 2022, almost 2 years ago, which is crazy, we started a membership community. So it's a community with 140 plus creators, and it's just like the girls chat. Like we all get it. Like we commiserate. Like when someone has a sponsored post, everyone's in there like, you know, commenting on it. Like it's really great for education, but I think that support piece is just like now what so many creators are craving. So it's my favorite part of my job.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think sometimes we sit at home as an entrepreneur, as an online creator, and it's just us. You know, we don't have like, in corporations, you have a whole team of folks around you that you can talk to and network with. We don't necessarily have that. So I completely love that idea of like, yes, you're there to like educate and to give these people knowledge, but ultimately, like you say, it's just this big chat where folks can inspire each other, maybe talk about the not so great things that happen as well,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just like have someone to listen to, that's super cool. I'm going to ask, because a big thing about doing this podcast is to kind of help people understand like, where is the opportunity? So out of everything you do, community, brand partnerships, anything else, what is the biggest like driver, the most lucrative part of your business?
It's really interesting because this has shifted for me a lot in the last 2 years. Previously, it was definitely brand partnerships. Like I was doing so many of them and so frequently working with so many different brands. And that was probably 75% of my income. 25% was from coaching. It's literally the opposite now, whereas 75 is from coaching, 25 from brand partnerships. And it's really just because I've shifted the way I'm presenting myself on socials. Like I'm definitely coming off more as a coach, and I'm sharing more about that than I am like beauty products that I love or outfits that I'm wearing. So because my mission has changed so much, it's definitely more the coaching. And one thing I love talking to creators about too is brand partnerships don't have to be you working with so many brands. So now I work with probably 10 to 15 brands a year, but I work with them so consistently that I'm still able to make great income from those brand partnerships, but I'm not every month like trying to find new jobs and, you know, wondering how I'm going to pay my bills. So it's been a shift in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's cool. Something I would take from that for sure is this idea of having multiple different things going on and almost like evolving with that and kind of pivoting, so that if one thing like brand partnerships maybe isn't super lucrative at one point, which as we know is seasonal,
That's true.
changes a lot, is that you have this
Hmm.
other part of your business still to earn a living, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I want to talk about brand partnerships because I think you just have like such a specific and unique approach that I don't think I've seen like any other creator, any other business owner talk about. So tell me about your view on brand partnerships.
This is, I think, what I am like most known for in my realm of people that follow me is something I call the anti-pitch method. I literally just got to a point where I was like, if I have to send one more pitch, like I'm quitting. I'm getting out of here. I'm throwing my laptop into a lake somewhere and I'm getting out of here. The issue with pitching, as you know, I'm sure you know, even from being on the other side, is like you get so many emails. They all look the same. Nothing sticks out. Nothing is exciting. You do not have the time and mental capacity to sort through all these emails. Like it's very difficult for a creator, I think, to line up all of the moving parts when they're sending a pitch because they don't know what's going on the other end, right? Like they're just sending a shot in the dark, essentially, email out, hoping they can make some money off of it. And so my approach is no cold pitching. We're just not doing that anymore. And instead, you really get to know the people behind the brands that you want to work with so that when there are campaigns that come up, like you're top of mind, they already know that you exist. They're like, oh, perfect. Like Sean would be great for this, instead of you having to send a million emails out hoping you're hitting the brand at the right time. So it's more about networking and like building that connection, that community. And it's pretty crazy to think about because when you are making these like more humanized connections, you just have so much more opportunity that's coming to you because like now this person knows you one-on-one. Maybe you've gotten on a Zoom call before. And if they have other friends in the industry, which they do, they are going to tell their friends and get you on different campaigns, like different opportunities coming your way. So it's really about building your network as a creator, but I don't think enough creators look at it that way because we've always been taught just send cold pitches, right?
Yeah. I would just so agree with that idea of like relationship building. Big, huge learning that I got last year with like working with some creators. And I think some folks have this idea that, yeah, you just keep sending out emails, the deals will come. Honestly, yes, there's some value in connecting with people via email, but it's more so about like, well, first of all, you've got to use the product or the service. Like I don't believe you should be pitching to a brand if you've never used the product because,
Right.
well, how are you going to sell it to your audience?
Yeah.
And then growing those relationships, knowing the people, and then it'll be a snowball effect. I mean, you're a perfect example of like you just mentioned, you've created these relationships with brands. You now have this roster of folks that you get rebooked for campaigns. You work with them again and again, and then you don't need to worry about that constant selling to new brands, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make 10 to 20 connections with brands that you really love, and for me, in my realm of expertise, like the things that I talk about, there's honestly only like 10 to 20 services or products that I really frequently am using enough. Now that I have connections with them, it's like I don't always have to go out. I honestly almost never go out and look for new deals or even really have to kind of search those out because now it's more like, hey, Kristen, like we have this opportunity that just popped up and we thought of you. And so you're almost kind of like setting yourself up to have the brands come to you, which obviously is a lot less work. It's a lot less time and energy. Again, like I want you to be able to spend time on your couch with your dogs instead of like going out and trying to find brand deals all day.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I love it. A question for you. If you think about how big of a following you need to get brand deals, do you need 100,000 followers to get brand deals or no?
It's so crazy that this is still something so many creators let hold them back. I honestly think you have a bigger advantage if you have less followers than if you have a lot of followers. And I think one maybe misconception is that the more followers you have, like every time you grow, you're going to be able to raise your rate. I think that there's actually like a spot where, you know, when you have 100,000 followers versus 200,000 followers, your dollar amount that you're charging is not even super different. So like there's a certain point where it's like, who even cares about growing? You already have hit the threshold basically that you need to hit to make this amount of money. So like for me personally, I have 25 or 24,000 followers on Instagram and the same on TikTok. I have literally not looked at my follower count or like paid attention to growth for years now because for me to like level up the amount of money that I'm getting paid for a post, I would have to probably double my following. And it's like, I'll get there when I get there. This is great for now. So I definitely don't think you need to have a certain amount.
Yeah, I would So agreed. I would take it back to like when I worked in a brand. For me, it was almost like the quality of someone's audience is so much more important than the size. So, if I'm like, cool, I want to reach this certain demographic, age, gender, whatever, somebody with 500,000 followers, that might be this like super diluted audience all over the world. There is no point in me collaborating with that creator because I'm not reaching the right person. Whereas working with someone like yourself who has a dialed in audience, I'm sure, of like a specific demographic, they listen to what you say. Working with you, I'm like, great, I can see the success and the value in reaching that dialed in audience. So yeah, like that idea of focusing on, you just have a audience that listens to you about a certain thing, doesn't necessarily need to be huge, and you can still earn a super decent living from brand deals.
Yeah. I actually am curious to hear your thoughts on like the niche argument, but for me, this is literally the reasoning why I do think having a niche, at least at first, is very smart, because like my audience, I know exactly who they are, versus if I'm just sharing about 50 different things, there might be some people who are interested in this, some people are interested in this, and it's a little bit more confusing for a brand to hire you. Like the example that I use with a lot of the students that I coach is McDonald's. So random, but McDonald's, when they first started, like they just had like super quick, cheap hamburger, right? Like they didn't have all of these other 50 different things that are on the menu. They got really well known for that. And then as they got so much bigger, they were able to like have different products on the menu because people were already going there. So it's like, for me, I talked about one very specific thing for a long time, got really well known for it. And now I talk a lot more about like my dogs or about plants and other things that I like, but I've established myself already as like an expert in that one specific thing because I was so niche down, as everyone says.
Yeah, I would honestly agree that I actually think niche is super important. I suppose I would take it back a little bit to like, what are you trying to do as a creator right now? Because if honestly, you are just trying to grow an audience, be experimental, be creative, and the business side doesn't really matter, then don't niche down. Like have fun. Go wild. But if you are trying to get brand deals, if you're trying to monetize an audience into a community, sell a digital product or an online course, you need to build that niche and that audience who come to you for that specific thing, so that therefore when the time comes, you will be set up for success in terms of whatever that monetization stream is. So it's a weird one though, because it's like this constant discussion on Instagram of niche down, don't niche down. It's like, okay.
I can see it both ways, but I agree. I think if you're trying to monetize your audience, whether it's through brand partnerships or through digital products and services, people are going to listen to you and trust in you so much more to like make a sale if it's a brand, or, deliver them a product that actually is going to help them transform or do something. They need to trust that you know what you're talking about. And again, if you're talking about 50 different things, it's a little bit difficult for you to be that go-to person for something.
Yeah. And we live in such a like saturated online space anyway that, it's really easy to forget someone. Whereas if you know the type of content they post and you specifically find them for that, they're top of mind. Like those are the creators that I follow and appreciate. I want to switch gears a little bit and also talk about this idea of building a community. So you kind of mentioned that on your journey, you saw this need during COVID, during this, past few years, to build a community online. What did that actually tactically look like? So that point that you had this audience, then you needed to bring them into this community space. How did you make that transition?
The idea originally kind of came to me as something, okay, I really should discover, try and play around with, when I was getting really booked with one-on-one calls to the point where like my whole day I was just on calls, and then I would have to get off and do my whole to-do list. And I was like, this is not sustainable for me. I need an option where everyone can get this information, but like I don't have to say the same thing 50 times. Like I can say it once and everyone gets it. And then I started also thinking about like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if these people could connect with each other too? So that's kind of where the idea for the community came from. I will say actually building it was difficult. It was like a slow burn. I am the type of person where if I create something and put it out and it doesn't automatically pop off, I trash it like immediately. I'm like, this sucks, throw it in the trash. We're never doing it again. But I said to myself, okay, I think we're onto something here. I need to give myself 6 months. We're going to just ride it out and see what happens. This is going to be my only focus. I'm not allowing myself to trash it. we're just going to see what happens in these 6 months. And the first probably 3 months of, okay, I have this community. I beta tested it with a couple people where I gave them free memberships and like, what is it like getting onboarded? Kind of tell me what you would like to have in here, what's beneficial, what's not. We did that, opened it up publicly, got maybe 20 members or something when we launched, which I was happy with. But then it would just be crickets inside the group. So for the first 3 months, it was a lot of me being like tagging people and trying to get people to like know this is a place where they can interact. It's almost like going to a party and everyone's just kind of standing there, but like no one knows what to do. So I had to kind of be the host and be like, come along, come meet this person and meet this person. And I did that and I still actually do that sometimes, but way, way less than I did when we first started. That was probably the first 3 months. After that, it got a lot easier because people started to know each other. Then when one more person came in, it would be like they kind of like adopted them into this little family. And now the group is actually so busy that we have like a community manager who helps with everything. We have a lot of people in all of our group meetings and everything. So it took a lot of time, but I think that was like the big lesson for me was give it time to actually do what it needs to do with a membership, especially because you have to do a lot of hand holding at first. And honestly, that just takes time.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a common feeling in creating a community or a membership versus a digital product or an online course, because that's passive if you kind of create something that people can just do themselves. Whereas like a community or membership is that like constant engagement. You're in there. Like you just mentioned, you were the one at the start who was like, answer these questions, respond to these posts. But it is super cool when it evolves to that space where it kind of is self-sufficient at that point and people start to post. They start to interact with each other. Were there any specific challenges, like other than you just mentioned, kind of like you had to do a lot of posting, but as you developed this, any tech challenges, anything like that came your way that you had to solve?
Honestly, I feel very thankful that there were no like tech challenges. We use a platform called Circle, and it's just extremely user friendly for myself, but also for all of our members. And they must release a newsletter every month where it's just like a bunch of new features. They just released an affiliate program, which I can get all of my members into this affiliate program to tell people, and then they get an affiliate commission. So they come out with these new features so frequently, and things are always like changing. They take feedback really well. So I'm glad that I chose that platform because it's just been like so instrumental in the success of Social Suite. But that was like really the big challenge, was like getting people connected and getting people to feel like it was a safe space, but also getting them to like come and utilize it. You know, I think as a coach, a lot of people are like, I didn't want to bother you. I didn't want to bother you. And I'm like, that's what I'm here for. It's never bothering me. Like, I'm here for you to be asking questions. And so at first it was a lot of people were like, you know, I don't want to bother you. And I just had to make it clear that like, I'm here for you to ask questions. Like, this is what you're literally paying for.
Yeah, if there's purpose or reason to be there, people will use it. I think that's something myself as someone who participates in communities, signs up to different memberships. If I know that there is like a really solid reason why I'm there, I will use it. And if there's, again, like the community host is prompting us, is, I don't know, even asking like, what was your win today? What was a challenge this week? Share it in a thread. Eventually it does just become, I log in and then I'm like, that's what I do on a Monday. I share my challenge and my win with the community, which is
exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And we definitely tried to have like a lot of fun and exciting things that happen just for people in the membership so that people are more excited to like get in there and see what's happening. We're hosting a masterclass later this month on the 20th, and we are giving it away to Social Suite members for free. So like we try and do a lot of those things where like they get first access to things, they get like exclusive access to things. We're actually in October, we're going to have a retreat here in Charlotte just for Social Suite members. So we're finally like taking it out of the group chat. Lots of like fun exclusive things. I think that gets people really excited to come in there and actually like be a part of the community.
Oh, I love that. So if there's anyone listening, like a creator who is thinking, okay, cool, I have an audience, they listen to what I say, maybe I should consider building my own paid community. What advice would you give them, or what would you recommend they do to take that step?
I would say the first thing to remember, because I think a lot of creators are like, oh, I should do this. And they're like, no, I'm not an expert. Like, I shouldn't. Oh, that was just a crazy idea. You only have to be one step ahead of people to be able to be like, let me guide you along, right? Like, you don't need to be 50 steps ahead. You just need to be one step ahead or know just a little bit more than the average person might. So don't get caught up on that. I would definitely say to talk with your audience first and really see like, where do you feel like there are gaps that need to be filled, or like, what do they seem like they're struggling? Like, what are their pain points? For me, again, it was like all these creators, they need the education, but they also are just like, we don't have anyone to talk to. All of our friends in real life, they don't even know what we do for a living. And so that was me just trying to kind of fill those gaps. So I would literally do informational interviews, get on a 30-minute Zoom call with 10 different people in your community and literally ask them questions like, what are they doing in their business, or what do they want to do, or what do they struggle with most, or what do they want to do more with their friends, or whatever it might be. Like, ask them all these questions and then just build your community around that. And especially with a community, I don't think you necessarily need to be like, again, like the biggest expert. You as a community leader are almost more of, again, like the party host, where you just need to be a good connector. And then people can, again, like help educate each other. Like, one thing that we do in Social Suite a few times a month, we have these content audit workshops where we all get on Zoom, everyone shows like a piece of their content, and we all just kind of audit it, different things that they could try, what we liked about it, what could change, whatever. And I literally like sit back for a lot of those meetings, and it's really like me just being that party host to connect these people and get them all in a room so they can do their thing. So don't think you need to be the world's biggest expert. But
Yeah, I love that. I think what you just said as well is this idea of like validating and getting some audience insights before you do it.
yeah,
That is just like anything we do, if it is the community membership, if it's the digital product, the online course, like, please don't spend all of that time buying the tech, planning it, creating the content if people don't want it. Like, you have to know that the audience is interested before you do the work. Otherwise, again, like you say, it might fail and then you have to throw it out immediately.
Yeah, and I've done that too many times. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I will say too that I think is very important is you have to also go into it knowing that it's literally not perfect. And it's probably never going to be. Like, what Social Suite looked like when we launched it is so massively different than what it looks like almost 2 years later. It's going to evolve. Like, don't spend so much time getting it perfect before you launch it, because you'll literally never launch it. Just put it out there. Again, like, get some beta testers, people to try it out, and people who will give you honest feedback, and then just slowly make the changes. And as you hear more from people, you make little changes here and there, and eventually it gets to a place where you just have to make less and less changes. But it's like literally never going to be perfect. You're always going to have to make little changes here and there.
Yeah, 100%. And, even thinking about tech and platforms, Circle is incredible, folks. But like, if you want to start this on Slack, like, you can do it for free on Slack and use their free plan. That is a community space just as much as Circle. So you can test it, you can be a little bit more raw and real with it, and then work your way up to Circle and kind of one of these like more complex situations. Honestly, I feel like these could be mini episodes in themselves, brand partnerships, community. But I think, is there anything, so if a creator again is listening and they're like, I do want to start monetizing, I want to start with something, whether it be brand deals, community, digital products, what advice would you give them in terms of figuring out where to start?
I think you do have to dabble a little bit in all of them, first of all. Like, I don't think you can really pick one and only do that. As we talked about earlier, like, you really do need to set up some multiple streams of revenue before you're going to like make any big moves. But I think polling your audience, like, again, really trying to hone in on like, who is your audience? What are their frustrations? Literally look at DMs that you get. Like, what are the DMs that you get? What are people asking you? Write those questions down, put them all in a big Notion document, and refer back to those when you go to create content and everything, which is makes life easier. But also go to refer back to them when you're building something, because you need to make sure, again, you're building it for someone who's actually gonna need it and enjoy it and use it. But the other thing that I would say is, where I see the most creators, like, I don't want to say fail, but like not do what they want to do, is literally because they have a really good idea, they work on it for like 2 weeks, and then they eventually are just like, it just gets put on the back burner and they don't touch it. I think you really do have to give something like your all for a decent amount of time and really let it like have the time it needs to flourish. So don't get bummed out if you're building something and it's taking longer than you thought. Give it some time and just try and make the changes that you need.
I love it. I think you've mentioned it a few times, but listening to your audience, just whatever it is, whenever you're thinking about doing, if it is a coaching program, a membership, a digital product, if you take it back to truly why are these folks here and what value are you bringing them, ask them, and then create whatever it is around that. Test it. If it fails, it's totally okay. Try something else. If the membership isn't for you, build a digital product. That doesn't work, become a UGC creator. We have a whole episode on that. It's like there are endless opportunities if you just have the willingness to listen to your audience and then test it, try it.
Yeah, you have to be flexible. You have to be flexible.
I love it. Okay, Kristen, if anyone's listening today and they want to connect with you, be entertained, educated, where might they find you?
I like to think that I'm very entertaining. They can find me on Instagram. My handle is KBOUSQ. Also, my website is yoursoulcialmate.com, and we have a Anti-Pitch Masterclass coming up on March 20th. It's at 6 p.m. It's a 90-minute class, and I am going to try and pack as much into that 90 minutes as possible. So I hope to see all of you guys there.
Awesome. Yeah, we will link everything below in the show notes. So if you are listening before March 20th, 2024, please sign up for this workshop, because I think, like you've heard today, Kristen has such a unique perspective on brand deals and building relationships with brands. So you're going to get all that good, juicy knowledge in that workshop. Otherwise, yeah, connect with her on Instagram, because I can guarantee you will love the dog stories.
Yeah, just come for the dogs. If nothing else, it's fine.
You'll be educated, but also you'll have a moment of thinking, wow, I wish this was my life, and I wish I was adopting dogs.
Yes, lots of dogs. We love it.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Kristen, for being here, and for everyone tuning in to the Creator Den podcast powered by the Partnership Expert. We love these interviews, and I'm just so grateful. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Yay!